Hi, I'm Mina.
And I'm Yules.
Thanks for tuning in to Artificially Informed.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I am absolutely energized, and I hope you are too, because the stack of stories we waded through this week is, well, it's less a simple collection of news and more a sprawling, chaotic panorama of everything happening everywhere.
It's really something.
It's a massive undertaking. We're going from the tiniest cellular breakthroughs all the way out to, the drama of galaxy formation, and then right back down to Earth, where the geopolitical pressure cooker seems like it's about to blow its lid.
It's a profound study in contrast, isn't it? I mean, when you put it all together, the astounding science and the really intense diplomatic friction, you get this picture of humanity that is, on the one hand, mastering its own biology,
Right.
and on the other, exploring the origins of the cosmos, yet still wrestling with what feel like, 19th century fights over land and resources.
That's a perfect way to put it. The gap between our potential and our friction is just striking.
It really is.
So our mission for you today is to shortcut that journey. We want you to be totally informed on this whole chaotic landscape. We're going deep on revolutionary insights into fertility, looking at the science that could potentially rejuvenate aging human eggs.
And a radical new way to fight cavities, which sounds mundane, but is actually fascinating.
It is. Then we leap out into deep space to hunt for these strange baby platypuses galaxies.
And then we crash right back down to Earth where the stakes are incredibly high. We're going to spend a good amount of time unpacking the aggression coming from the White House. President Trump is escalating threats over Greenland sovereignty.
Citing the need to control rare earth minerals and insisting the U.S. will secure the territory, if necessary, the hard way.
The hard way. At the same time, we're analyzing this strange push to force $100 billion of U.S. oil investment into a politically fraught Venezuela. It's a strategy that's just full of contradictions.
We'll also unpack the very real threat the UK government has leveled at the social media platform X, suggesting a ban is possible over deepfake and AI-generated content. I mean, it's an immediate test of where innovation meets regulation. It's all high-stakes, high-octane stuff.
It is.
So let's unpack this, and let's start exactly where life begins, the human cell. Okay, let's start with a topic that is profoundly personal and often just filled with emotional weight for millions of people. I'm talking about the decline of female fertility with age.
It's financially and physically taxing, and recent research, reported in places like the Washington Post, suggests an incredible transformation might be coming.
That's the hope, and it's rooted in, well, a new fundamental scientific understanding.
Exactly. The decline in a woman's fertility as she ages, particularly after her mid-30s, it's fundamentally rooted in specific defects that accumulate inside human eggs.
So we're finally getting a look at the why.
We're finally shedding light on the precise molecular mechanisms behind the decline, instead of just observing the outcome.
And that outcome, for so many people trying to start a family, is often the in vitro fertilization process, or IVF. Our sources describe it, and I think this is very accurate, as a horrible roller coaster.
That's a good description. Cycles of intense hormonal treatments, invasive procedures, and just crushing emotional disappointment if it fails.
So how could this new foundational understanding help turn that roller coaster into, a smoother ride?
By offering the potential for targeted intervention. Essentially the ability to rejuvenate aging eggs before they're even used in the fertilization process.
So you're not just picking the best of a bad bunch.
Exactly. The goal isn't just to maximize the chances with what you have, these sort of suboptimal cells. The goal is to repair the underlying defects themselves. For older women, where IVF success rates just plummet because of these egg defects, this could be, revolutionary.
It sounds like it shifts the whole conversation from just managing the quality of aging eggs to actively restoring their biological vigor.
That's it. We're talking about precision medicine applied to reproduction. If scientists can pinpoint the exact pathways, the metabolic or genetic glitches that cause the defects, they can use molecular tools to fix them.
Which is a huge leap beyond what we have now.
A huge leap. It goes beyond things like pre-implantation genetic screening, which just selects the best embryo that already exists. This is about creating a better egg in the first place.
Which would dramatically reduce the number of failed IVF cycles?
And lower the physical, the emotional, and the financial toll. It offers the prospect of genuinely greater fertility choices later in life, which is a massive societal and personal shift. It lets people align their biological timing a bit better with their life and career.
It's a foundational change, allowing science to challenge one of the most persistent natural limits of the human body.
Precisely. And speaking of foundational changes in health, let's look at something way more common, yet still a global problem affecting billions. Cavities. Dental caries.
2 billion people globally. That number is just astonishing. And for most of our lives, the fight against cavities has basically been synonymous with one word: fluoride.
Right.
But now we're talking about a natural amino acid, arginine, that promises a different, more ecological approach.
This is a fantastic example of shifting our strategy from purely defensive to environmental management. For years, the approach has been a scorched earth policy kills the bad bacteria with aggressive chemicals.
Right, just wipe everything out.
The research on arginine, which is a natural amino acid you find in many foods, shows it helps maintain a less acidic environment in the dental plaque biofilm.
So instead of trying to sterilize your mouth, which messes up the entire ecosystem, you're buffering the environment. It's like changing the soil so the harmful weeds can't grow.
That is the perfect analogy. When you introduce arginine, it doesn't just kill the acid-producing bacteria, it actually works with the beneficial bacteria that are already there.
How does that work?
These good bacteria metabolize the arginine, and they produce harmless ammonia. And that ammonia neutralizes the destructive acids being produced by the harmful bacteria, so it stabilizes the whole biofilm and prevents those rapid pH drops that lead to enamel erosion.
So the key isn't brute force, it's managing the existing ecosystem. That's a totally different paradigm for dental health.
It's an ecological solution to a biological problem. And those are often more sustainable and effective in the long run. If we can successfully incorporate this into preventative care, it could be a huge public health win, especially in developing nations.
Fluoride is still important, I assume.
Oh, absolutely. Fluoride remains crucial for strengthening enamel. But arginine, well, it addresses the root cause, the acid environment itself.
That's a fascinating pivot. Now let's move from one of the most common diseases to one of the most lethal and notoriously resistant: pancreatic cancer. This research offers a crucial glimpse into how it operates.
It does. It shows how it resists conventional therapies. Scientists have discovered what they're calling its hyper-resilience circuit.
What did they find?
They identified a highly complex internal molecular loop involving 3 specific factors: SRSF1, AURKA, and MYC. And this loop basically acts as a self-fortifying circuit for the tumor cells.
So it's like a shield.
It allows the cancer cells to effectively shrug off conventional chemo and radiation that might work on other tumors. It's a big part of why pancreatic cancer has such grim survival rates.
Okay, we need to connect the dots. Let's break down those 3 factors: SRSF1, AURKA, and MYC, and how they work together.
Certainly. Think of it as a deadly biological assembly line, where each part supports the others. SRSF1 is involved in mRNA splicing.
Which is how a cell reads its genetic blueprint to make a protein.
Exactly. And the problem version of SRSF1 fine-tunes those proteins to help the tumor survive. Then you have MYC, which is a master regulator of genes. It basically just tells the cell to grow and divide relentlessly.
Wait, so that's the accelerator.
Right. And AURKA, or Aurora kinase A, plays a key role in cell division itself, making sure that rapid, chaotic multiplication is successful. But the crucial part is that they don't work alone. They continuously activate each other.
Creating a self-sustaining loop.
A loop that guarantees rapid growth and resistance. MYC says grow, AURKA makes sure the division happens, and SRSF1 makes sure the new cells are tough enough to survive.
So if you can understand those 3 gears, you can jam the machine. This points away from broad toxic chemo toward hyper-targeted precision medicine.
That's precisely the hope. This opens the door for using targeted molecular therapies, like small molecules or specific enzyme inhibitors that are designed to disrupt this exact loop. You're not just trying to kill the tumor, you're disconnecting its life support.
Which could dramatically improve survival rates for a cancer that desperately needs better options.
The future of cancer therapy is in understanding these unique molecular fingerprints.
Finally, in our health section, let's talk about the easiest, yet maybe most neglected factor in longevity: sleep. We've got data points here that are genuinely alarming.
They are. The suggestion is that insufficient sleep less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours might reduce life expectancy more than a poor diet or inactivity.
That's a powerful statement.
It is, because sleep is so often seen as negotiable. The studies are clear. Consistent, adequate sleep can add about 5 years to a man's life expectancy. That's a massive return on investment. But here's the critical nuance.
What's that?
It's that sleep regularity, keeping a consistent sleep schedule, is a stronger predictor of mortality risk than just the total hours you get.
So the body values stability and predictability above all else. It's not just the volume of sleep, it's the routine for repair.
Exactly. And UCLA research connects this directly to the mechanisms of cellular aging. When you have even minimal sleep deprivation or your schedule's all over the place, it activates genes associated with biological aging.
You're talking about things like telomeres, right? The
Yeah.
protective caps on our chromosomes.
You are. Sleep deprivation interferes with the processes that repair DNA damage and maintain telomere length. Your body releases growth hormones and does all this critical cellular housekeeping during deep sleep. If you mess with that timing, you're disrupting your fundamental repair cycles.
So sleep isn't a luxury.
It is a necessary biological maintenance process. If you prioritize regularity, you are giving your cells the stable platform they need to do that work. It's a great reminder that self-care is literally cellular engineering.
That's a strong reminder. Now let's transition from the world of the microscopic and launch ourselves into the truly vast, where our machines are showing us the birth and death of the most colossal structures in the cosmos. The James Webb Space Telescope, or JWST, is the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, it's rewriting astronomy textbooks in real time. This week, it delivered something that sounds like it belongs in a biology textbook: baby platypus galaxies.
Slight chuckle. It's an evocative name, and it really speaks to how fundamentally weird these cosmic objects are. The JWST has detected structures in the early universe that seem to represent a new, previously unidentified phase in galaxy formation.
They're anomalies.
Complete anomalies. They're bright, they're compact, they're highly structured, but they don't fit into any of our current classifications for how galaxies are supposed to look when they're forming.
So they challenge the conventional wisdom. Cosmologists have these models for how galaxies evolve, but when you find something like this in the early universe, you have to throw the textbook out.
You have to start asking radical new questions.
Yeah.
And scientists are considering several theories. One is that these platypus's galaxies are systems that just form stars much, much more rapidly than predicted, burning through their gas supply and becoming these compact giants super early on.
What's another theory?
Another speculation is they might be examples of failed normal galaxies that ended up with these strange structures because of some specific short-lived interaction. They're really pushing scientists to reassess the complexities of cosmic evolution.
Sticking with stellar giants, let's talk about Betelgeuse, that massive red supergiant in Orion. We've known it dims and behaves oddly, always prompting speculation about it going supernova.
And now the Hubble Space Telescope, or HST, has confirmed a major piece of that puzzle: a hidden companion star.
The companion.
Yes, a fantastic discovery. The companion star has been named Suara. And what made the confirmation possible was Hubble detected these swirling trails of dense gas, what astronomers are calling a wake.
Awake, like from a boat.
Exactly. It's created by Suara as it orbits through Betelgeuse's huge, thin outer atmosphere. It's like a speedboat moving through a cosmic lake, kicking up waves of gas.
On a colossal scale.
On a colossal scale. Suara's gravity disrupts Betelgeuse's outer layers, which helps explain some of the brightness variations we've seen. But the implications for the future are the most exciting part.
What are they?
The sources predict that, due to gravitational drag, Suara is expected to spiral inward and eventually merge with Betelgeuse over thousands of years. This slow-motion stellar collision could be the thing that triggers the star's eventual explosive transformation into a supernova.
A stunning forecast of stellar violence. Now let's talk about the invisible glue of the universe, dark matter. Hubble also delivered confirmation of a ghost galaxy called Cloud 9.
Cloud 9 is a grounding discovery for cosmology. It's a galaxy that is almost entirely composed of dark matter. It's virtually devoid of stars. They've dubbed it a failed galaxy.
It never managed to light up.
That's right. And this reinforces the theory of starless galaxies. We always say dark matter makes up about 85% of the mass in the universe, but seeing an object like Cloud 9 really puts that theory into context.
Why is finding a galaxy made only of dark matter so powerful?
Because dark matter is so mysterious, you can only detect it through its gravity. Cloud 9 confirms that dark matter's gravitational role is everything. It's the scaffolding that holds cosmic structures together, even if those structures fail to form stars.
And it suggests these failed galaxies might be more common than we thought?
It does. It confirms this vast, invisible architecture that the visible universe is built on.
Okay, switching from discovery to deliberate exploration, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, has some major mission updates. Let's start with Dragonfly, the rotorcraft going to Titan.
Right, Saturn's moon. Mission planning is accelerating. The big update is that full rotorcraft integration and testing are set to begin in February 2026. This isn't trivial. Dragonfly is a complex quadcopter designed for Titan's dense atmosphere and low gravity.
It's an autonomous drone millions of miles from Earth. The goal is to explore Titan's vast fields of organic dunes and impact craters.
And the reason Titan's so compelling is because it's essentially a chemical laboratory. It might hold organic materials essential for life, even though its surface is freezing and covered in liquid methane.
So we're looking for the building blocks of life, not necessarily life itself.
Absolutely. The measurements Dragonfly will take will fundamentally inform our understanding of planetary habitability. And while Dragonfly is looking for organics, NASA is also pushing ahead with instruments to detect high-energy cosmic events closer to home.
You're referring to the Starburst instrument.
Yes, Starburst is a small satellite designed to look for short gamma-ray bursts. It just successfully completed rigorous temperature and vibration testing at Marshall Space Flight Center in Alabama.
And short gamma-ray bursts are linked to one of the most exciting events in the universe: neutron star mergers.
Which are literally the cosmic forge. They're believed to be the primary factory that produces the universe's heaviest elements, including things like gold and platinum.
So what's Starburst's mission?
Its mission, launching around 2027, is to operate with ground-based gravitational wave observatories. The goal is to link the explosions we see with the ripples in space-time we detect, a complete picture of these cataclysms.
That dual detection is key. Amazing. Now, on the human side of space exploration, there's an update on Artemis II, the mission to return humans to the moon.
A moment of high-profile symbolism right here on Earth. The Washington Monument was illuminated with a special candlelight display 1 month before the planned launch.
A symbolic nod to the mission.
It is, and it acknowledged the legacy of the Space Launch System booster manager, Dave Reynolds. His story, growing up and being inspired by the earliest rocket tests, really embodies the generational dream that fuels the Artemis program.
A powerful connection. But space is still inherently dangerous, and we have a very serious reminder of that from the International Space Station, or ISS.
This is a sobering development. An astronaut required an immediate medical evacuation from the ISS. This complicated operation requires using a SpaceX Crew Dragon spacecraft to get them back to Earth.
That sounds incredibly high risk in an emergency.
It is. The primary risk comes from the rapid preparation and the inherent dangers of re-entry under duress. The Crew Dragon is highly automated, which helps, but medical emergencies introduce variables. It also highlights how integrated the private sector, like SpaceX, has become in NASA's critical crew safety operations.
And what's the impact on the station itself?
The immediate impact is a crew reduction. That means the remaining team members have to take on increased responsibilities to maintain the station's systems and continue experiments. It just highlights the complexity of medical protocols in long-duration spaceflight.
A powerful point. Now let's pivot from celestial physics to political friction and the high-stakes world of geopolitics. We have 2 major flashpoints this week centered on resources and sovereignty, both involving aggressive maneuvers by United States President Donald Trump. Let's start with the highly charged oil play in Venezuela.
This situation is textbook complex. President Trump held meetings with major U.S. oil companies and announced a clear, aggressive strategy. Push for U.S. firms to invest an estimated $100 billion into revitalizing Venezuela's struggling oil sector.
What was his pitch to them? I mean, given the history of asset seizure and instability in Venezuela, that's a tough sell.
He promised them total safety, protected directly by the U.S. government. The implication was a level of military or diplomatic protection that would shield their massive investment from Venezuela's unstable environment.
And from the government of President Nicolas Maduro, who the U.S. has accused of drug trafficking.
Right. But if the U.S. seized President Maduro, as our sources indicate, that total safety guarantee sounds pretty hollow, doesn't it? The whole proposition seems to rely on aggressive intervention, not stable diplomacy.
The oil industry saw that contradiction, right?
Immediately. ExxonMobil CEO, for example, expressed deep skepticism. He questioned the viability of a $100 billion investment without fundamental regulatory and legal reforms within Venezuela itself.
The historical precedent is toxic.
Absolutely. Under Chavez and Maduro, Venezuela seized assets from international oil majors, often without compensation. The industry is wary of presidential guarantees that rely entirely on political muscle without judicial stability.
And all of this is happening while the U.S. is also aggressively enforcing sanctions.
Exactly. We saw the U.S. seize the fifth oil tanker linked to Venezuela, the Alina suspected of transporting embargoed oil. So on one hand, you have massive financial incentives for the future. On the other, ruthless enforcement to cut off the Maduro government's current revenue.
It's a strategy of carrot and stick, but also seizure and capture of the country's sitting president.
An action Venezuela called an unprecedented infringement on their sovereignty, and that capture has immediate and intense regional fallout. Cuba, a longtime ally, is on high alert.
Bracing for severe economic aftershocks.
For sure. Meanwhile, Colombia's President Gustavo Petro is trying to navigate this impossible tension, emphasizing cooperation with the U.S. despite President Trump's prior threats and accusations.
And Trump didn't stop there, also threatening military strikes against drug cartels in Mexico.
This is a consistent, aggressive push to unilaterally redefine relationships with key Latin American states, using drug trafficking and oil as justifications for interventionist policy.
Now let's move north to the Arctic, and another aggressive stance from President Trump, this time regarding Greenland.
The sources confirm he's escalated his intentions, insisting the U.S. must control the territory, citing rare earth minerals and strategic importance, and stating the U.S. will secure it either the easy way or the hard way.
The hard way. That's a phrase that demands attention. What was the reaction from the island itself?
It was a strong, unified rejection. Their Minister for Mining and Business, Najin Nathanielson, emphasized that decisions about the island's future and resources must be determined only by its residents. A clear stance on self-determination.
The sources also noted monetary offers from the Trump administration were called disrespectful.
A clear cultural rejection of the idea that their sovereignty could be bought. Party leaders stated emphatically, "We don't want to be Americans." And the Danish government, of course, swiftly rejected the notion that Greenland is for sale.
Let's connect the dots. Why are those rare earth minerals so strategically crucial that it would risk this kind of diplomatic crisis?
It's all about 21st century technology supply chains. Rare earth minerals are essential for everything from semiconductors to high-capacity electric vehicle batteries and advanced military guidance systems.
And the global supply chain is dominated by China.
Exactly. So for the U.S., securing a stable, non-Chinese source is a major national security and economic imperative. This links that 19th century impulse of territorial acquisition directly to 21st century technological necessity.
Shifting to the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, we're seeing continuous escalation on several fronts.
Yes, Russia launched a large-scale assault, including the deployment of the new hypersonic nuclear-capable Oreshnik missile. This is only the second time it's been used in combat.
Its speed makes it extremely difficult to intercept.
And its deployment serves as a stark warning to Ukraine's NATO allies about Russia's intensified capabilities. We also saw escalation in the Black Sea, targeting maritime trade routes.
Russian drone strikes hit 2 foreign-flagged civilian vessels in the Odessa region.
Tragically, a Syrian national was killed. This is part of Russia's strategy to undermine Ukrainian exports and exert pressure on global commodity prices.
And the warfare itself continues to evolve. We have videos from the Russian Defense Ministry showcasing FPV, or first-person view, drones using AI.
This is a critical development. AI-driven targeting in these drones means greater accuracy in neutralizing armored vehicles. It shows that AI integration is now a battlefield reality, not some future concept.
The international community is reacting. The UK, for example, has committed $270 million for a multinational security force in Ukraine post-ceasefire.
It's a proposal designed to offer long-term security guarantees. However, Russia has publicly warned that any Western troops in Ukraine, regardless of their purpose, would be considered legitimate targets.
And that leads directly to the diplomatic division we see in Europe, particularly around French President Emmanuel Macron.
Macron is facing significant domestic pushback over his plans to deploy up to 6,000 French troops as a reassurance force. Critics are demanding that any deployment get an endorsement from the United Nations.
Which, with Russia holding a veto on the UN Security Council, is highly unlikely.
Exactly. It puts him in a tight spot and highlights the dilemma for European powers. How to offer meaningful guarantees without full UN backing or an ironclad U.S. commitment.
Adding to the tension, Finland has officially withdrawn from the Ottawa Convention, the anti-personnel landmine treaty.
This is a major policy reversal for a nation that only recently joined NATO. The Ottawa Convention bans the use, stockpiling, and production of anti-personnel landmines.
So why withdraw now?
They cite perceived threats from Russia. Finland shares an exceptionally long border, and their military concluded that without the ability to use landmines defensively to slow a mechanized invasion, their entire defense structure was compromised. It's a very pragmatic, if concerning, shift.
The regional tensions continue elsewhere. In Syria, a ceasefire in Aleppo has collapsed.
The Syrian army has renewed operations, targeting Kurdish districts and calling for the U.S.-allied Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF, to surrender. This complicates an already fragile situation.
In the Levant, we're seeing continued volatility between Israel and Lebanon.
Israel has launched a new wave of attacks against targets in Lebanon, aimed at countering threats from Hezbollah, despite a declared ceasefire. The stability there remains elusive.
And in Korea, another clash of narratives over airspace.
North Korea claims it shot down a South Korean surveillance drone over its airspace near Kaesong. South Korea, however, denies any such flight took place. It's this continuous cycle of claim and denial that highlights the fragile state of relations there.
Finally, let's look at Iran, where widespread protests continue despite a nationwide internet blackout.
The protests are being fueled by severe economic conditions and relentless political repression. We have troubling reports from medics describing overwhelmed hospitals, with rights organizations reporting at least 51 fatalities.
And the regime is hardening its stance.
The Revolutionary Guard Corps declared a red line on national security, vowing to use maximum force. But what's really striking is the symbolism of the resistance. We have reports of women lighting cigarettes from burning photos of the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei.
That specific visual, the burning image, and the defiant personal act of lighting a cigarette is incredibly powerful.
It connects the broad civil unrest to the deep personal fight for autonomy. It's a deliberate act of contempt and rejection of the system's authority, one of the most visible and emotionally charged forms of resistance globally right now.
A powerful image. Now let's move to the technology front, where AI is creating both incredible products and regulatory nightmares. This is where technological speed just crashes into political inertia. The biggest tech story involves the social media platform X, formerly Twitter, and a very real threat of a ban in the United Kingdom.
That's how seriously the UK government is taking the AI content crisis. They've strongly urged Ofcom, the communications regulator, to consider an effective ban on X, due to grave concerns over inappropriate content, specifically AI-generated sexualized images created by Grok, which is Elon Musk's AI.
We're talking about deep fakes and maliciously manipulated images of real people. The outrage has been severe. I've seen U.S. senators calling for Apple and Google to remove X and Grok from their app stores.
The situation highlights a massive ethical chasm. The government's concern is the platform's potential to facilitate the rapid, uncontrolled spread of deepfakes and misinformation.
And the core regulatory question is, who bears responsibility?
Exactly. Is it the user who prompts the malicious image, or the platform and the company that developed the AI tool that enabled it?
And what's Elon Musk's counterargument to this pressure?
He's characterized the criticism as an excuse for censorship. It's that classic tension between public safety and free expression. The decision by Ofcom is seen as a potentially precedent-setting move for AI regulation globally.
Now let's shift to the positive, blistering speed of innovation we saw at CES 2026 in Las Vegas. The competition between computing giants is really heating up.
The processor wars are in full swing, and they're now totally focused on AI processing power. NVIDIA debuted its Panther Lake microprocessor architecture.
And that's all about enhancing AI capabilities directly on the chip.
Yes, and prioritizing power efficiency for running complex AI models locally on consumer devices, like laptops. It's about making AI ubiquitous without constant reliance on the cloud.
But AMD wasn't standing still.
No, AMD countered strongly with a Ryzen 9 9950X 3D processor. While it also has AI features, this chip is specifically optimized for high-end gaming and intense content creation using their 3D V-Cache technology.
Which stacks memory vertically on the processor.
Right. It dramatically increases the available bandwidth. It's a direct challenge for the top-tier consumer market, prioritizing raw performance.
So NVIDIA is going for efficient integrated AI for the masses, and AMD is focused on high-performance brute force for power users.
That's a good summary. And the show wasn't just processors. It was dominated by AI-driven robotics.
We saw NVIDIA unveil its latest humanoid robot. Hyundai, which owns Boston Dynamics, also showcased their strategy.
Hyundai's strategy is heavily focused on leveraging AI robotics. They showed off the Atlas robot and an interesting collaborative effort that resulted in a laundry folding robot.
A laundry folding robot. That's the intersection of cutting-edge AI and the ultimate domestic chore. I think the audience is more interested in that than the Panther Lake chip.
Slight chuckle, perhaps. Beyond the giants, we saw a significant challenge emerge in the smart eyewear market, particularly from Chinese manufacturers.
The sources mention Rakit and Xreal. What's driving their rise?
They're showcasing AI-powered augmented reality, or AR, glasses that focus on immediate usable features like real-time translation and gaming overlays, and they're getting lighter, faster, and more affordable.
And this is being driven by massive consumer interest in China.
An astonishing 62.3% year-over-year shipment growth. It indicates that 2027 will be a pivotal year as these devices become truly practical tools.
Moving to policy, we have surprising reversal from the U.S. Commerce Department on Chinese drone imports. They dropped a plan to restrict them.
That's a significant policy swing. The Commerce Department dropped its plan despite earlier national security concerns. And this is interesting because the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, already restricted new models from companies like DJI and Autel.
So why the shift, especially with ongoing geopolitical tension?
Geopolitical considerations are cited as the reason. Washington is trying to balance national security with diplomacy ahead of high-level meetings. Broad restrictions would significantly harm U.S. companies, as Chinese firms just dominate this market.
It seems strategic stability outweighed immediate security concerns.
For now, it seems so.
Finally, let's quickly mention the convergence of wellness and tech with the launch of Oslo Sleep Buds.
Right, backed by $50 million in funding, these use AI for superior noise cancellation and soundscapes. They're building a comprehensive sleep data platform and even have a partnership with Calm, the meditation app. It just underscores how much consumers are willing to invest in optimizing their sleep.
From the future of sleep to the reality of the balance sheet, let's jump into global economics and business. We're seeing some significant market consolidation paired with financial stress in a few key sectors. Let's start with real estate, where Compass has acquired its top rival, Anywhere.
This immediately creates the world's largest brokerage. It's a monumental shift. The deal was approved by stockholders, but it immediately drew intense scrutiny from the Department of Justice, or DOJ, over potential antitrust implications.
They're worried about competition and consumer pricing, I assume.
Exactly. When two giants merge, the DOJ looks closely at the potential impact on broker commissions and barriers for smaller firms. Consolidation at this level always raises questions about consumer choice, especially in the U.S. housing market, where pricing is already a huge pain point.
And shifting to luxury retail, we have critical news about Saks Global, the parent company of Saks Fifth Avenue and Neiman Marcus.
They are reportedly near bankruptcy. The situation is dire, characterized by a crushing debt load and what's been described as an out-of-stock crisis,
Meaning they can't keep enough inventory to satisfy demand.
which further erodes sales. It really highlights the struggles major legacy luxury retailers are facing in adapting to shifting consumer behaviors and economic challenges. This could lead to dramatic restructuring across both brands.
And in the auto sector, General Motors, or GM, announced layoffs in Ohio.
This reflects the immense ongoing strain these companies are under. They're trying to balance massive necessary investment in electric vehicle, or EV technology, with managing high operational costs and labor agreements in legacy manufacturing hubs.
The transition to electrification is proving challenging for employment stability.
It is, forcing companies like GM to make tough cuts to streamline their budgets.
For consumers, we have a stark picture of post-holiday financial reality, particularly from the UK.
Debt charities there are reporting unprecedented numbers of people seeking urgent financial help post-Christmas. It underscores the broader economic challenges and persistent cost of living crisis many families are facing.
Now, let's look at the intersection of political influence and finance, starting with President Trump's populist appeal on credit card debt.
President Trump called for a cap on credit card interest rates. He framed it as a necessary measure for affordability and a direct challenge to the banking industry's lending practices.
It's a classic populist move, tapping into widespread consumer frustration.
Absolutely. It's a policy that would draw sharp opposition from financial institutions, but resonate widely with struggling Americans. The debate centers on whether rate caps prevent predatory lending or reduce the ability to lend to high-risk individuals. It's a politically potent issue.
We also have major regulatory decisions pending that will impact trade.
That's right. The Supreme Court is scheduled to issue important rulings on January 14, including deliberations over tariffs implemented during the Trump administration. These decisions could have significant, far-reaching implications for domestic and international trade policies.
And on the global trade front, the European Union has finalized a massive deal with the Mercosur South American bloc.
This EU-Mercosur trade agreement has been long awaited. It aims to open new markets and diversify supply chains, particularly in agriculture and automotive goods.
But EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen backed it despite strong criticism from European farming communities.
Yes, particularly in France and Ireland. They fear that cheap competition from South America with different environmental standards could undercut them.
A classic tension between domestic interests and strategic economic goals.
Precisely. Securing access to large, growing South American markets was deemed crucial for the EU's global standing, even with the domestic friction.
Finally, what's the temperature on Wall Street about AI investment?
Wall Street professionals are sharing investment tips, but there are growing concerns of an AI-driven tech stock bubble. Some analysts are cautioning that a downturn may be imminent for stocks that have seen massive valuation surges based solely on AI enthusiasm.
So it's the classic debate. Transformative change or overhyped speculation?
That's the one. And speaking of strategies, the JPM conference is coming up in San Francisco, which is the major event for the pharmaceutical and biotech sectors. We expect to see major new deals and partnerships revealed there.
That brings us to our final segments, connecting the planet's deep history with its immediate challenges. Let's start with deep time and Earth formation. We have a study on 3.7 billion-year-old crystals from Australia's oldest rocks that sheds light on the origins of both our planet and the moon.
This research is pivotal. The isotopic composition of these ancient zircon crystals shows a striking resemblance to samples that the Apollo missions brought back from the moon.
So this heavily reinforces the dominant theory of how the moon formed, the giant impact hypothesis.
Exactly. The theory that the moon formed after the early Earth collided with a Mars-sized body called Theia. And the study suggests this cataclysmic impact not only birthed the moon, but also dramatically influenced the geological development of Earth.
Specifically, the timing of when continents formed.
Right. The data indicates the continents didn't begin forming until hundreds of millions of years after that initial event. Understanding this timing reshapes our interpretations of early Earth conditions and how life evolved.
Now let's look at deep human history, with a significant discovery in North Africa.
Fossils unearthed in a Moroccan cave may represent a crucial missing link in the lineage of Homo sapiens. The finding is significant because the fossils show traits that predate similar discoveries in East Africa.
So this suggests North Africa played a much more significant role in early human development than we previously emphasized, challenging the idea that the cradle of humanity was exclusively in East Africa.
It definitely broadens the traditional narrative. It suggests a more complex story, maybe with parallel or regional development across the continent.
But the past is running into the present in North Carolina, where a 13,000-year-old ancient village has been discovered.
And it creates that classic tension. The need to balance modern development pressures roads housing with essential archaeological preservation. It's a highly significant discovery, and local authorities now have the difficult task of navigating those competing needs.
Moving from ancient history to immediate weather, Storm Goretti has caused havoc across northern Europe.
It was a powerful system.
Yeah.
Tragically, one man was killed in the UK when a tree fell on his caravan. And the storm left around 100,000 homes in France without power.
And on a more unusual atmospheric note, we had a bizarre sight in the UK, a snowy sky that turned pink over Birmingham and Staffordshire.
Slight chuckle.
Oh.
It sounded like something out of a science fiction movie. Meteorologists attributed it to the reflection of intense urban light from stadiums or commercial centers interacting with atmospheric particulates and the heavy snowfall.
A reminder of how light pollution impacts what we see. And speaking of snow, Aberdeen, Scotland has been battling unrelenting conditions.
Yes. The sources note continuous, relentless snowfall throughout early 2026. It's severely challenged local infrastructure, but also highlights the incredible community resilience required to cope with such persistent, severe weather.
Now to public safety, where we have a deeply tragic incident from a Swiss ski resort on New Year's Eve.
This was a catastrophe. A fire at Le Constellation Bar in Crans, Montana killed 40 people. The owner, Franco Moretti, has been detained on suspicion of involuntary homicide and arson.
It sparked urgent questions about fire safety regulations.
Absolutely, especially in the bustling, often older structures of the tourism sector.
Next, we have several incidents involving Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, agents in the U.S.
In Portland, federal ICE agents shot and wounded 2 individuals during a traffic stop. Local police confirmed the pair had links to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, a highly volatile incident.
And in Minneapolis, a separate fatal ICE shooting of Renee Good sparked community protests.
That's right. The release of the agent's body camera footage has fueled intense public scrutiny, raising concerns about police conduct and the use of lethal force. It's led to calls for greater transparency and reform.
Finally, a quick note on passenger safety on commercial airlines.
An Italian man was found guilty of attempting to rape a sleeping woman during a flight to Edinburgh. He had strategically moved seats during the night flight to carry out the attack. The verdict is critical for highlighting the need for stricter protocols to prevent sexual misconduct on planes.
It seems no matter how controlled the environment, human safety and accountability remain constant challenges. Let's wrap up with a little lighter fare. Let's start with a young star bringing massive new money to a sport not known for huge deals. 18-year-old darts champion Luke Littler.
The darts phenom has truly arrived. He secured a landmark sponsorship deal reportedly worth £20 million, or about $27 million, over a decade.
That's being hailed as the largest deal in darts history.
It is. It highlights the surging popularity and financial opportunities in the sport, driven by young, marketable talent.
Shifting to the intersection of entertainment and politics, we have an anecdote that is almost unbelievable in its symbolism.
Slight chuckle. Yes. Sources reported that the G7 schedule, the meeting of the world's most powerful economies, was reportedly changed because President Trump was busy with a White House UFC fight scheduled on his birthday.
It perfectly illustrates the blurring lines between high-level diplomacy and entertainment culture.
Or perhaps tragically illustrates them.
Diplomacy pauses for the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Perfect. Speaking of feel-good stories, let's go to Japan.
Takeshi Station in western Japan, where a calico cat named Yontama was officially named Station Master. This continues a unique tradition that is vital for local tourism and the survival of the rural railway line.
And in sports milestones, NBA star Kevin Durant continues his historic run.
Durant passed the legendary Wilt Chamberlain for 7th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list, a phenomenal testament to his skill and longevity.
Finally, in European football, manager Liam Roos Sr. compared Chelsea's young squad to Manchester United's legendary class of '92.
That's a high compliment. The class of '92 included icons like David Beckham and Paul Scholes. Rosier is staking a claim that Chelsea's current young crop has the talent to emulate that generational success. We'll see if those high expectations pay off.
Wow, what an absolutely packed dip dive. We started with the real potential for biological mastery rejuvenating human eggs, naturally managing microbial life in our mouths. Then we jumped to the cosmic scale, hunting for ghost galaxies and watching stars collide.
And then the human conflict came roaring back, focused entirely on the acquisition and control of territory and resources. A struggle that feels ancient despite all our technology.
We saw President Trump threatening to take Greenland the hard way to secure rare earth minerals and trying to force massive oil investments into Venezuela.
We also saw the stark reality of autonomy being asserted, whether it was Greenlandic leaders rejecting a buyout or Iranian women challenging a repressive regime on the streets.
It leaves us with a truly provocative final thought, linking that scientific ambition with the political reality we face. We have the technology to solve our oldest human problems: aging, disease, instant global communication. Yet our global leaders are still fighting over 19th century concepts like territory.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, to think about. Is our technological progress simply outstripping our political maturity? And what does that mean for global stability if we continue to build a future of cosmic-level capabilities powered by, well, Stone Age political impulses?
If we can engineer life, why can't we engineer peace? Something to think about until next time. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you then.
For enjoying Artificially Informed.
Hit subscribe and share it with a friend.
From the left, the right, and straight from the algorithm.
Thank you.
That's it for today's Artificially Informed.
Nope. Thanks for spending your time with us.
Yeah.
Stay sharp, stay curious. See you next time.